actually, Isabella, or okay, got it. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the open showcase event of the Reschool Sprint 2022, right? And we're here together with a whole group of participants that have done this journey with us. But now we also want to tell about this to anyone who was curious, who maybe wanted to participate, couldn't make it. So welcome, join us in this journey that you will see is just the beginning, right? And enjoy the kind of things that have come out. Right? What we're going to do in this little under an hour, I think, event is we're going to tell you a little bit about the journey that we had together with the teams, with these awesome participants that we have here together. We're going to give you the voice of the youth, that there has been a strong participation from learners themselves, and we're going to summarize that here in a video and discuss a bit about it. We're going then to hear a summary again of a number of the proposals that have been done by the different teams that participate in Reschool. Of course, it will be just glimpse on those proposals, shortcuts. And then we're going to have a bit of a discussion with all the participants about, yeah, what does all this tell about how we can actually reimagine school together. And finally, an open invitation to join innovationhub.school, which is our platform to keep this community going. So starting, what was the Reschool Sprint 2022? No, so today is the last day of a 12-day global online challenge, which started on Monday, May the 2nd. In total, 120 people participated. Learners, educators, school leaders, experts, education dreamers, as we call them, so people that might not today be in school, but have a lot to say about education, from 4 different continents came together, right, to imagine and prototype innovative solutions for their schools and also beyond. It was really very diverse. Here you can see some of the spots. No, this comes from our kickoff session, like from where the different people were. So we're really spanning once around the globe, which was actually one of the challenges we had. We had, I think, 16 time zones involved in this, which made it actually quite challenging to find moments to be together, all of us. Right? What did they do? So we ran through a fast-paced innovation cycle in which we assumed 5 different mindsets, 5 different mindsets that we think are critical to innovate and to change things. No? So the first one have to do with questioning everything, with being a challenger, right? Asking questions about school and if school has to be like it is today, right? The second had to do with empathizing, with figuring out our users and our different participants in school, learners, but also teachers, learning guides. How do they think? How do they feel today? What maybe prevents them from changing? Then we went to look for ideas, and we had the opportunity to gain inspiration because, of course, with all these people participating, there were all good ideas that could be brought. And we had the opportunity to, of course, think for ourselves and come up with new ideas. For some, it wasn't possible to do it all the time until to detail, but the next idea was to then actually start prototyping, right? Start imagining how we could bring to life these ideas that we have. Actually, and we will hear about this later, some learners in school during these 2 weeks actually did experiment a different way of learning for themselves. And finally, we had the share spread, so which is actually what we're doing today. So we are now spreading the word and hopefully get you excited also about what we've come up with. How did we collaborate? How do you collaborate across 16 time zones? Well, this is the other thing, right? We were able to do this, of course, being in many different places, sometimes with not that great connection. And we did this by using different tools on our platform, right? So every team had a workspace where they could basically come together and work. They had sort of a guided innovation journey that would help them structure their different steps and in particular collaborate as a team and come up with joint ideas. We had a lot of sharing meetings and input meetings, and we had a number of really great sparkling inputs, as we call them, right, from a number of thought leaders that are also here today and whose videos you can see on our YouTube channel. And we had a lot of discussions, of course, live, but also online about the different topics that were raised. So I want to give a special thanks to our wonderful team of coaches that we have here. So we had same thing, so spanning once across the globe, located on 4 different continents, right? Who did, I think, an outstanding job and getting in touch with teams from different situations, different contexts, right? Understanding your problems and hopefully giving you some really good guidance, no, in terms of methodological guidance, how you could work through the sprint in this short time, and also content-wise, bringing their experience to the table. So I think I hope it was beneficial and really valuable for everyone. And especially, I think we had a great time also together. So I will hear more about this later, but these are some of the challenges, no, on which you will hear in the videos. No? So we had really, actually, a quite diverse number of themes. So you will see later also a lot of common points between these themes. Fundamentally, a lot had to do with, yes, rethinking learning, rethinking school, challenging the way we are doing things today, right? And we had this just in our pre-session, and we're going to certainly discuss more about it. Not just the hard things, what you learn about, but also the softer things, if you want, right? So the relationship aspects, the trust dimensions, right? So that human dimension that is so important in school. So you'll be hearing a lot of really interesting thoughts about that. So let me move on to the first sharing that we have, which is the voice of the youth. Actually, young learners somehow led the way, because at the very beginning of the sprint, we invited a group of actually young people to come together to give their view on what is maybe broken with education today, and what would be their ideas to improve learning, right? And it was a fantastic group, because we had young change makers here from from 4 continents, right? That came together and discussed. Some of them coming from another of our initiatives that you can find out more here in this link, ycmchallenge.org, where we invite young people to be the change they want to see in the world. They joined, some pupils from the learners from the schools that are in the sprint joined, and together they had a really wonderful conversation. And then we also had active participation in project teams. I would say most project teams had somehow learners involved in what they came up with, and you will see that later. And we have also a really wonderful case of a school where for 2 weeks in St. Nicholas in Brazil, learners actually had an exploration journey to reimagine learning at their school, right? So I think we had really a lot of this voice of the youth, and Berit's now going to show you the first video that's giving you a little bit of a glimpse of what the youth thinks about the future of education.
All of us have agreed completely on is the importance of integrating mental health and well-being of students, and both also teachers.
Oftentimes at school, it doesn't feel like you can't communicate effective information because of the difference between relations. You might feel like it's too uncomfortable, you're too nervous, you're too anxious.
I should be learning healthy ways to cope with and manage my anxiety. Why can't I cope with failure? Why, when things don't go my way, do I get so frustrated? How the rigid systems of exams and evaluating with grades can truly change learning from being about truly acquiring knowledge and integrating it into an important life experiences, to just memorizing, to just saving information and then forgetting it later.
School is not about my interests, my passions, or my hobbies. It's all about repeating accumulated information in my head.
Also, we spoke of peer reviews. So the possibility for students to review, to work with their peers, and critical, like give criticisms to their peers' work, so that the educational experience and the educational, in fact, the learning process in general is even a better one.
We want students to gain skills like responsibility and enthusiasm when it comes to learning.
School times need to be more flexible. They need to be more suitable and different to match different needs of the students.
Like we wanted to kind of like an association of the parents and students and like the whole community about like if we have any problems or anything that we want to like report to help our community get better, we need to like communicate with everyone as like a whole.
I hope the school will take the time and run a mile in our shoes and redesign the school with us in mind. If we're really going to make true change, we need to listen to the students because they are the heart of the learning experience.
Schools can change. There's still hope. I think if they give us a voice, we can all be heard.
The school should encourage more practical skills rather than encouraging students to memorize and cram in order to pass an exam.
Why don't school teach us through real life experiences, not only from textbook, but in real hands-on activities?
If I'm presented with real world issues and my teacher asks me to come up with well-constructed solutions, I'll be more than eager to be engaged with my learning.
Let's not just learn these topics, let's put them into practice.
So it all started when Mr. Todi came up to us and said, how can we save our life? And we went to donate stuff, warm clothes, because now here in Brazil, it started to suddenly get cold. So we decided to donate some clothes, food to some people in the streets.
And we all arranged this from one day to another. So it was a lot of planning or organized skills. Yeah, there was this little girl. She looked like to be 3 or 4. She was really young. And she just came with her mom. And she just came up to us and she was like, can I have this? Can I have this? And she was getting all these clothes and everything that she could reach. And at the end, she was just like full of things, holding so many things. And it was just so young. And she knows exactly what she has to do to get what she needs.
It was really good to put out smiles from them and us, because I feel like our smiles and their smiles of gratitude impacts all of us.
We always donate, but it's to like a charity, and we never give it like us to them, like firsthand, physically, and it was a whole different experience. We know that this is happening, but we don't know how real it is. We decided that we need to focus more on kindness and empathy and helping others, not only thinking about ourselves, like my grades, my future, my job, my life, but how we could help others.
Yeah, more times we do it, the more better we'll get at helping people. That's why I believe we can do stuff like this more often.
We're not sure if we saved a life, but we think that we really changed a life. Theirs and ours.
Like Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And that's what we're trying to do. And you can do it too.
Okay, so let that sink for a second. And if you feel it sinks and you digested it, join us on menti.com. You can use the QR code and or go to menti.com and then type in the number 27947484. And we want especially the adults doing that. Of course, learners are invited as well, so everybody can do it. But the question we would like to raise is especially to the adults, since we listen now to the youth and have the youth voice there. So I keep that up for another couple of seconds so everybody can join. And we have a little delay for our guests on YouTube, so just give it another second. So our question is simply to all adults here, how do you feel about what you just heard? How does that affect you right now in that moment? And if you need the code again, you can see it up there, menti.com, and then the code you can see here as well. There is a well. Interesting. responsible, encouraged. Yeah, smart kids are everywhere, definitely. Impressed, motivated, that's fantastic. Stunned, awed. I'm grateful, I do too. We can do this, yes. Even deeply touched. Extremely fun. Somebody wants to honor the youth. I think the next step that we're doing will honor the youth, because you guys came up with fantastic ideas on, yeah, basically on the challenges that they brought up. Okay, feel free to just keep on giving us your emotions and things that you feel that this input has affected you. And we would, of course, like to share what now the adults came up with during the last 2 weeks. And yeah, stay tuned. We will show in a minute.
Well, classically, as with any school, the focus is on performance, here placed between what I'm good at and what I can be rewarded for. However, as this simply does not suit the needs of students, we have opted to focus our attention on the 8th grade.
It's to shift the focus of learning from performance to mission, thereby including personal desires and needs as well as those of society. In order to do this, we plan to restructure the year with far fewer classical school constraints. No grades, no subjects, no classes, no predetermined timetable. It is to be divided into quads. After an introductory phase of 2 weeks, each quad with a selection of modules and challenges will be completed with a product presentation, peer recognition and awarded credit points for all activities undertaken during the quad.
As we know from neuroscience, children learn best when they feel safe, seen, and valued. They need an environment that tells them that they matter, that they belong. In South Africa, even though we have come a long way since 1994, inclusion remains a work in progress. In many schools, the sense of belonging will be unequal across racial groups, linguistic or cultural groups. What we offer is a supported, coached design program that equips you to co-create a solution that works in your context. Join the Inclusive School Challenge South Africa 23 and experience the power of community every day through its virtual hub.
And we asked ourselves how, when, why, where do we learn?
Another question that we wanted to ask was how can we as teachers or parents, adults, provide opportunities for learners to explore how they really feel about themselves and about life? What is the objective of the learning access? It's to work as a team to solve a challenge while exploring and analysing your emotional response to each step of the process. So the idea really would be to have almost a two-tier approach, because on the one hand, we have the challenge in which the learners would develop skills such as problem solving, critical thinking, collaboration, but at the same time, they would also have the introspection prompts, which would help them to develop their emotional well-being, conflict resolution, for example, and really to analyse how they are reacting and responding to situations.
So our challenge is to establish a film studio, which is supposed to foster autonomous, learner-based, and product-oriented learning for our students.
We had a challenge to use the smallest amount of space possible because the room we were in is used by other spaces too. So we tried to incorporate multi-purpose elements and elements that could be fully retracted
space.
Benefits for the users. There's peer connections, there's autonomy and self-competences, and of course, there's a lot of creativity.
In South Africa, our education system statistics state that every 4 out of 10 scholars drop out of school. The Innovat Hub could prevent all of that by providing dropouts and the youth with a platform to express their needs and wants. The Ubuntu pop-up experience encouraged the youth of Kamakuku to be more involved in maintaining the park. The teens were really concerned with the self-sustainability of our community and our productivity as the youth.
At Oakwood Children's Department, we are going to have children who are from less privileged families, girls' education department, and this department will close in at girls who have dropped out of school. There are so many girls such kind in the community. Oakwood STEAM World Department, and these are a department that will cater for education for the girls. Women who are already in STEAM, who are going to close the gap between girls who want to join STEAM-related careers.
We talked to students and together with them, we listed topics that would be interesting to students to explore and research. And most of them said that they would like to research the migrations in their history, in their village, because in that village lives 17 nations. And what's very strange, they all assimilated and mixed cultures, languages, customs, kitchen, and everything else. And they said that they would like to research how did it all start and what changes has happened.
The pandemic was hard on all of us, teachers, students, and parents. We had to learn to go fully virtual in a matter of days by working and reworking our teaching again and again to get it just right. We can either go back to how things were before the pandemic or refocus and decide to learn, reflect, and change from the struggles. Please share your experience of virtual teaching and virtual learning with us. Help us think creatively in order to capture the skills and practices we learned. Take this short survey and be part of the change.
The teacher-centered approach met the needs of the Industrial Revolution age. Today, during the fourth Industrial Revolutions, we are transforming how we work, our organizations, and nearly every aspect of our lives.
One thing is for sure, we cannot go back to teacher-centered classrooms where students are taught to repeat information designed just to measure how much they can remember.
Learning should be fun. School should be fun. Students are not supposed to come to school only to memorize information for a test. Once the exam is done, after a week, or at the same day, everything will vanish.
We need to start considering our students, not as the citizens of tomorrow, but as today's change makers.
Okay, so that's quite an impression. Of course, we're sorry if for some projects might not be obvious to get all the details of your proposals, right, from what we've seen there, but I just feel it's such an incredible diversity here. Each time I look at this and I see us here, I'm still stunned by this, how with such a big geographical, cultural, language, whatever diversity we're uniting here, right? We can have so many common ground and common topics. No? And it's just so nice to see. And so really happy to have shared and to have you produce all these wonderful videos. So I really wanted to open up a bit the conversation here, no? So that we have a bit of a little discussion around what we've seen. And I think there are real commonalities, no? So that there are real topics that come over and over in these different proposals, no? And then I guess a first one that we had also at the end of the last session was all about this aspect of relationships, no? And how to take more care to make a school a place of relationships, of where we pay attention to the individuals behind that crowd of learners, right, that we have in front of us. So I just wanted to throw this a bit in the round and hear, what do you think? How can we make this really happen? No? Because I think I also remember maybe our participants from Cameroon explained us now that maybe we can have school situations where we have up to 70, 80 students in a room, right? And even in schools that are lucky enough not to have these class sizes, I mean, it's not that easy, right? To build a relationship with any individual that's there. So how do we do that? Any thoughts for that?
I think
who wants to give it in? Yeah?
I think Triumph has an idea.
Go to it. Yeah. Triumph from Cameroon or Waniju? Yeah, Waniju.
I'll jump in. I think, in my view, that there's no way around relationships apart from giving them time. They need time to develop, and where does that time come from? So we have to try to work around what is important. We mentioned, Benjamin mentioned, it's about your values. What do we value? So if we value, then the relationships, then we have to make room for them. And that room, we can't get 30 hours in a day. So we'll have to reorder our priorities so that we make enough space and time for the relationships.
Right. I have Triumph from Cameroon. You raise your hand.
Yes, sir. So speaking with regards to what you said, like how can we maybe curb the situation of the maybe large class sizes that we have in Cameroon. So I think one very good idea is that actually much of the work is expected of our the government system, because most schools are actually having large classes. They are actually run by the government, and private schools are actually working hard to the aspect of trying to reduce these class sizes. So I think as Ma'am Wanji who said, we should actually give them more time. And while giving them more time, I think we should act in our own way, really showing out that this is what we actually think is good, and we actually maybe launch small projects on our own, like civil society organization can really maybe launch small projects on their own, and also carry out sensitization and advocacy, for actually the education right that they are trying to maybe bring innovative ideas to. So I think this is something that we can do, like speak up in our little level, give them more time, and keep on advocating and sensitizing about our education rights and the rights of the children in schools. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So I have Rana,
Yeah, I just something occurred to me. I want to say that number is never something that can apprehend relationships and fostering relationships. If we can think of it like a TED Talk, can you think of how many people attend a TED Talk per theater or at one time? There are a lot of people sitting, and the speaker just walks in and give an incredible speech, and you have like 300 people sitting in there, and they walk out of this talk and they feel incredibly motivated, and they feel like something changed or an idea came to their mind. So what if each teacher felt or thought about themselves as a TED speaker? You go inside your classroom, you don't need to speak to each child or each student alone. You can go there and in 2 or 3 minutes get everyone in your classroom to feel that they matter, that they're important, that they are engaged. So yeah, number is never the matter. It's just if students are scared, if the students are scared to come, this is where the issue lies. So
right. Thank you so much, Rana. That was very interesting point. Yeah, Maggie.
I think that the issue of time and space and how we are able to use those to focus on relationships and on important values also comes down to the fact that in many countries, decisions about education are not made by educators. And so I'm looking forward to the next chapter of Innovation Hub, where we have youth and educators, parents, community leaders, and policymakers who are all sitting with us together to create, co-create change.
Right. Magali, do you want to go next?
Quick point for me, the issue of, I'm going to repeat what has been said, but really creating a dedicated time. And I want to add time to listen to the children and the learners, because often the the listening only goes in the other way. And one idea is just to have a mentor for each student that will give, that will listen for 10 minutes to a child at the beginning of the day. It's actually usually not so difficult to put in place, and it can make such a massive difference for the children. So yeah, just a quick one.
Thank you. And of course, also in your video, you said the first thing is that we create that environment of trust, and of inclusion. That this is probably the whole basis for this possibility of relationships. We have another one, Kumo.
Okay, just to add to what everybody has said, I believe relationship is all about consciousness, and by the virtue of you being a teacher or you being a student, there's already a relationship that exists between the two parties. So the question is, how conscious are these students or are these teachers that this relationship is present? So we, like the last speaker just made mention on the mentorship, on the interactive sessions amongst the students and the teachers, on creating awareness for these students to feel free and know that they can always go closer to their teachers. So I go back to this point of consciousness, because I've been in the school for 3 years and I wasn't even aware of the fact that I could go to the department and meet a teacher and discuss with the teacher, and the teacher get to me. And many of us didn't know that until when teachers came to us and told us, you guys can come and meet us. We are there for you people. And that's really a problem all over. Thank you.
Thanks. So we see the figure of the teacher is, of course, more important than ever now. And at the same time, and we have also seen that beyond also building these situations of relationship, we have, of course, had in many different ways. I think a common topic was learner agency, right? So how can we give more agency to learners, to their own learning? Now, I guess this requires a completely different, we all know this requires a quite different role from the teacher, from the ones that we've seen in some videos, very frontal, etc. And I think it also scares a lot of teachers. So because it means, you have to really start working with a group of people completely differently. You have to give up control. You cannot probably sometimes not control your outcome anymore that much. So I just wanted to hear from many of you here of experienced teachers, school leaders, people working with teachers. So what is your thought here? How can we help teachers make that leap to make all this learner agency actually possible, right? Rana, you want to also say something about this? Go for it.
I had teachers that maintained the balance. Actually, they maintained the respect, they maintained their control, but not in a bad way. Control in a good way, like how to maintain rules in your classroom and how to give your lesson without being interrupted and stuff like that. But they also were able to be personally invested in each one of us, and that mattered because when we came to them like hey, I have a problem, or I didn't complete my homework due to some issues that I have been going through, they do understand that. But if other teachers, and actually both examples existed, and I've seen both, and I've dealt with both. Some teachers, they just they're not aware of the importance of mental health and well-being. And if the teacher doesn't open the door for his students and ensure that this goes in a trusted way, in a way that could really elevate both the student-teacher relationships, I think students cannot take this initiative, because they're not, I mean, okay, they're important, but teachers have to take the first step. Teachers have to open their doors and assure them that it is fine, that you're not going to be punished, or that you're not going to threaten my control over my class. So yeah.
Right, thanks. So how do we get them to make the first step? I don't know, maybe Maggie, you have some insight on that.
One of the things that we've seen happen a lot in areas where neither teachers nor students have much agency overall is that it's very scary for both. Teachers in top-down systems often feel very little agency to change things up without the permission of the people who are above them in the systems. And so it's really scary to not be doing what you are supposed to be doing, that you as an educator are going to be evaluated on, and living up to those expectations is something that teachers, in order to stay in their careers, have mastered. And so it's a big risk for everyone. So I would say what we've seen is start small, redesign your classroom, find some purpose together. Like the question that Nick asked his students, how will we save a life? Create a sense of shared meaning and drive, and start taking those steps. I think when you start that cycle and you discover what agency feels like, and then you can start building on it, you start having those small successes. It's what I call a positive civic agency cycle. It just keeps building, and it can spiral out to bigger, more and more agency, and a bigger and bigger role for teachers and students in changing the world.
Right. So isn't that an interesting interaction here now? So because we also had that conclusion again before, no, in the sense that in a previous meeting, so that on one hand, we have had really disruptive proposals here. No? So a school is ready to go and make an 8th grade without grades, classroom schedules, whatever. No? And we have had number of maybe what about, and a team that projected us, your team actually has projected us into the idea, what if school learning happened in nature rather than in traditional buildings. No? And so we have all these really disruptive ideas, but then we also get back to the actual moving there, no, moving to these more disruptive models. That's a step-by-step thing. No, that's something that starts in the one-to-one relation. That starts with everyone in single learner, with everyone in a single teacher, right? And they also exploring and reinventing themselves in the day-to-day. No, so I think that's not a contradiction, right? It's we need both, right? We need people that come up with a vision, right, with entirely new proposal, but then in the day-to-day, we need to start from where we are and move there progressively, right? There's no such thing as tomorrow morning, I mean, closing what we have and going to the next side of the street, other side of the street, and having another world of learning, right? Wanjiro, you want to maybe say something on that? Huh?
Yes, I do. And I think for me, it's simple, but it's not that simple in terms of agency. It's our mindset. It's what we believe. It's what we have faith in. And I wish we could look at it from the perspective of not how do we give students agency, but how do we allow their agency to manifest. Rather, we're not giving it to them. They have it. They already have it. So how can we develop their agency, for example? Or instead of saying, how can we give them a voice? They do have a voice, but we just don't allow it to be heard. So how can we create opportunities for students' voices to make a difference in their learning? So it's just believing, which is a change of heart and mind, that they do have agency, and trusting, you know, sometimes as humans, we want to see something so we can believe, but we need to believe it so we can see it when it comes to some of these paradigms. And for me, I've tried it and it works. You believe it's going to happen and you give it a go, and then you see it, and it's quite mind blowing. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, any here we have a comment also. Nature has already given us what we need, right? Wonderful. So yeah, I mean, any last comments or something that has surprised you in the videos? Otherwise, let's move a little bit forward and talk a little bit about what's next, right? And so clearly, what we just said. No, I mean, this is just the beginning of a journey, no, and we think there's of course much more to come. So let us have a bit of a reflection on that. Just need to pull up a couple of slides here. I'm sharing the right thing. Sorry, I'm not sure I'm sharing the right thing. Now, okay, so we are here on the final showcase event of this 12-day sprint, right? And I think we're all some of you pretty exhausted, right? Because a lot of you and all of you spent a lot of energy, and we are particularly grateful for that also, because we know, and that's actually one of our hardest bets now. How can we make this work for people that are actually school practitioners, like most of you, right? While you're of course still having to do your day-to-day job, right? And then to run those schools and to take care of these kids, right? And so clearly it was a challenging 2 weeks, and we want to now take a bit of a breath and allow you to take a bit of a breath. But we also want to show you and show you that this is not over, but this is just a start, right? Because clearly the implementation of your projects will take certainly much more time, right? In this short sprint, we have gone through a little bit of a problem-solving process. We have come up with a vision, maybe a model that we could try, but now comes the hard work of actually maybe winning others for your project, working out the details, and starting implementing it, right? And so what we want to offer you here is to actually come together again, not next week, because everybody thinks we need to take a deep breath, right? And just take also maybe care of some other priorities, right? But in 2 weeks, so in 12 days from now, so another 12-day period now to let it sink, right? In which we would actually get you together to think further, because this is only the beginning, right? What we really want to achieve is, we think we were just amazed by the community that came together in this short time for something that was, also a bit of a prototype or a bit of an experiment, which worked so nicely, right? And we want to therefore also take advantage of accelerating change, right, through this collaboration and cross-fertilization, because that's, I think, what we saw here, right? Of course, there's things like this going on, exchanges and sort of communities most of the time at national level, right? So discussions happening at national level. But when you bring it together in such a global perspective, I think we can just see how interesting and enriching this is to just hear from so many different experiences in place. And also same, like many people have also said, seeing the commonalities, right? And this is then means, yeah, educators, learners, education dreamers, probably also over time inviting other education actors to the table, as you started mentioning, Maggie, right? Like, I mean, how do we at some stage also impact those who make the policies, if you want, right? So it becomes, conceptually, we're moving from a sprint to a marathon, right? So we're moving from this very fast-moving loop that we did now to come up with train ourselves in the process, think out of the box, and maybe have a first vision or rough prototype of idea, to moving to creating resonance, right? To probably more, for all projects that we have here, we need to certainly involve more people in our communities, right, in our schools. So, and we need to create resonance with them. We need to involve them, see what they think, see what their fears are, right? Maybe excite them about our initial vision and then make them part of it, right? From there, we might start thinking about what is our innovation journey to make this real. We've talked about this when we talked about one of the mindsets of the innovator, which is the builder, right? That hacking is a good mindset to have. No, so starting small, trying things out, not trying to immediately do the big leap in one shot. No, so but rather learning and failing and learning and learning again, right? So in this community call, what we want to do is to do this, right? We want to allow you to work on innovation journeys to make your project real. We want to identify, maybe talk to your potential barriers that you anticipate because that's all generally what happens next, right? When we came up with a vision, the next day we start thinking, oh my God, now all the barriers that we potentially facing, how are we going to do this, right? Again, we're going to take advantage of having us being together to get feedback and insights, and also see how we can keep working with our toolbox, right? And our environment that you have started using over those 2 weeks throughout your journey, and basically keep reaching out to each other. Just for those who might not have experienced it, yes, who may be following us on streaming. So what is the Innovation Hub for School, right? So it's like a collaborative platform for school innovation, right? That is, what we want to do is to empower teams that want to change things at schools to change from within, right? And to have the tools, to have the network and the community to do so together, and I think that's also, we have seen a lot these weeks, right? I mean, some of you have started pretty much this journey on their own and hopefully have started finding a community for the idea, and that gives you certainly strength and courage and encouragement. Therefore, you will continue finding there an access to community, to talking, to just reaching out to people with a question. Like we had this wonderful conversation that was initiated by Magali on inclusivity, where so many people commented, right? And we hope we would do more of those and just launch a topic and see what others are thinking, and about a new topic, or simply about some of the challenges you're facing to implement the one that you have in mind, right? So you will have more tools there about actually to work, maybe, for instance, how to involve the school community, right? How to create resonance with more people in the school, right? And we can continue organizing targeted coaching. So getting a coach on board and online for some time and just talk, just reflect from an outside perspective your project, and maybe make you think of something that you might not have thought about, or deal with the barrier. So therefore, this community call is clearly for all of them who came to the sprint. And if you're a school team, however, that missed the sprint, we are also inviting them to join this and future community calls, because we think we can all learn together. We can make this community bigger, right? And we will have a special breakout during the next community call, how to start an innovation journey at your school. Yeah, so that, because we believe that with this community, everybody can hopefully start this journey successfully. So that's what we have in mind. And big applause again to this wonderful team and people from all the world that came together. Going to stop the slides, right? yeah, thank you so much. We enjoyed the process enormously. There's an amazing amount of interesting ideas that have to come together that we're also going to make sure to spread and to circulate, and will probably by themselves generate more and more resonance with more people. Maybe also some policymakers, who knows, right? Let's see if we can think of somebody at that level and send them our ideas and see if we can move them a little bit, right? So that's what we had for today. Big applause to everyone, and hope to see you in the future as well, and to keep this community growing and alive.
I think we should do that again, guys. Whoever can stay for another 30 seconds, just put on your mic, please. Come on, some noise.
Yeah, applause. Wonderful. Berit, I leave you the last words.
I think the applause should have been the last words,
Okay.
but guys, it has been so much fun. Really, thank you so much for doing this with us together, with all your hearts and energy and everything you had. And have a fantastic weekend. Get some sleep, and yeah, we really hope to see you again in 12 days, another 12 days, and see what's going on then. And whenever there's a question,